Good morning, this is Todd Hubbs, agricultural economist at the University of Illinois. Today I'm talking about my weekly outlook from April 29th, 2019, corn use for ethanol update. I know a lot of the talk these days is about the weather and what it means for late planting and acreage for both corn, soybeans, and spring wheat. For those of you that are interested in that topic, Scott Irwin and I have done a series of posts over the last couple of weeks on Wednesday, and we got another one coming out this Wednesday on Farm Doc Daily discussing the implications of the current weather issues on corn planting. If you're interested, I suggest taking a look. For now, I'm going to talk about corn use for ethanol. We've got the grain crushing report coming out this Wednesday, May 1st, and we've seen weakness in corn use for ethanol throughout the marketing year, particularly in the second quarter, and I'm going to talk about what that's looking like as we move through the rest of this marketing year. What you're seeing here is corn use for ethanol production quarterly for the last 4 marketing years. As you can see, 2018-19 has been considerably weaker in the first and second quarters as it has been last year. A little bit above the last few years, but last year we're down significantly. Right now, through March, I've got an estimate of corn use for ethanol a little above 3.1 billion bushels, which puts us needing about 2.4 billion bushels to hit the current USDA forecast of 5.5 billion bushels. And I don't know if that's going to occur. What we're going to need to see as we move into the summer driving season is an uptick in gas consumption, and we can get that 10% blend or even some E15 in there if the rules come out, which I'm highly skeptical of, or an expansion in exports. And this expansion of exports looks like it really needs to focus on if we can get a trade deal in China. So I'm going to talk about gas consumption, where we've seen it, and ethanol exports in general over the next couple of slides. What you're seeing in this slide is weekly U.S. product supply to finished motor gasoline, a little placeholder for what many people consider gasoline demand. And you can see in 2019 we're slightly below last year's pace. And there's a pattern here. As we enter the summer driving season, you see the gas demand pick up and then it falls away. There's a seasonality there. And we're just slightly above the 5-year average, slightly below last year's pace. Right now, EIA is projecting gasoline prices during the summer driving season at about $2.76 per gallon, which is down 9 cents from last year. And they're projecting an increase in consumption of gasoline. Now, while they are projecting that, they're also simultaneously projecting a little bit lower ethanol production through the summer driving season. So for us to actually see a pickup in corn use for ethanol, particularly with the kind of convergence rate we've seen over the last few months, we're going to need to see a significant pickup in gasoline consumption if we don't do it through export markets. You know, we're seeing some good news from the economy, some good growth in the economy. Maybe a strong economy will get people out there driving, but basically gasoline demand's been relatively flat, as you can see, over the last 5 years with just a modest amount of growth. So to think we're going to actually hit or exceed the 5.5 billion bushel number just through gas consumption may be a bit of a stretch this year. One area where we could see significant growth this summer is through ethanol exports. You know, there's already a lot of hope placed on this trade deal with China, and I hate to pile another piece of information onto it, but here it is. Right now, we're on pace through February, according to census data, of slightly more than last year's 1.636 billion gallons for the marketing year of ethanol exports, led by Brazil, Canada, and India. Now, as you can see, Brazil's pace is slightly lower than last year. We've seen Brazilians, due to low sugar prices, end up using more of their sugar cane for ethanol production. It's about 76% of it this year. And on top of that, we've seen them increase ethanol production from corn. So overall, Brazilian production's up a little over 21% this year. I think that doesn't bode well for Brazilian exports for the rest of the marketing year. As you can see from this graph, Canada usually keeps a relatively steady pace. We've seen growth in places like India and South Korea and the Philippines, but they're not really going to make up much of the difference in what we lose from Brazil and China. China's exports are noticeably absent. You know, we got some trade relations warming a bit, and based on their E10 policy and their capability of importing ethanol, if we got a trade deal, I think you could see ethanol exports to China pick up considerably during the summer months, but it depends on this trade deal a lot. If we don't get it, I think you may see we're going to need to lower that ethanol use for corn estimate from 5.5 billion bushels before it's all said and done, because I don't think gas consumption is going to do it. We sort of need to do it through exports. We've seen ethanol crush pick up the last couple of weeks, but right now we're sort of staring at just another thing that needs this trade deal to come into fruition, and hopefully we can pick up exports to China. They need them. Through their policy, I think they'll take them. So that's just another thing to pile on top of what's already a perilous trade deal with China. In summary, barring substantial growth in gas consumption this summer or an uptick in ethanol exports, we're probably going to see the USD lower that 5.5 billion bushels of corn used for ethanol. I'm optimistic that the trade deal is going to get done sometime in early June, and I think we could see strong ethanol exports through the summer months to China. And I do think there'll be some growth in gas consumption, that we may be able to hit that 5.5 billion gallons. But if those things don't come into fruition, we'll see this number lowered before it's all said and done. I'd like to thank you for your time. You can find my weekly outlook and daily analysis of issues related to Corn Belt farm economics at farm.daily.illinois.edu. I look forward to seeing you around the state of Illinois.